Hello again and welcome to DanWhiteBooks, the book review channel where we add insights into the worlds of literature for both those who do read and those who don't. Today I'm reviewing a work that details the story of a man who one day woke up with two large horns growing from his head. Today I review Horns by Joe Hill. Published in 2011 by author Joe Hill, Horns is a dark fantasy tale that follows one man's torment and despair after the rape and brutal murder of his girlfriend. Although this book may be considered a horror work, I wouldn't say it would really keep you up at night, at least not for me. It instead takes a strong focus on character relationships with emotive sequences of childhood, friendship and first love. The tale focuses on a 26-year-old man called Ig Parish who wakes up after a drunken night to find two horns protruding from his temples. Stranger still, in conversation, people notice the sickly horns but are not at all alarmed by them. Instead, they feel a compulsive need to tell of their darkest sins and their most twisted desires. When Ig leaves, they remember nothing of the conversation. As Ig wakes up that morning with his semi-girlfriend Glenna, he is taken aback by her talk of sin and her desire to devour and binge on food. Throughout the opening section of this work, Ig hears many of the most ugliest urges that people foster, in turn leading him back to his family home. Ig was a prime suspect in the murder case of his girlfriend Merrin, yet despite being cleared of all charges, all but one person believes he is innocent. In his local town, he is an outcast and considered a murderer. He lives a chaotic life as he tries to balance the sudden and catastrophic rupture caused by his girlfriend's murder. When visiting his family, Ig is shocked by their open renouncements of him, this in spite of them appearing to support him when not under the influence of the demonic horns protruding from his skull. Each family member has something negative to say except that of his brother Terry. Terry appears to know more about the murder of Ig's girlfriend than he ever led on to. And so Ig makes the most of what he's got and seeks revenge on the person who raped and brutally murdered Merrin, the first and only love of Ig's life. That is the basic rundown of the plot for this book, and I can certainly assure you that there is much more taking place than just that brief summary. Joe Hill creates exceptional and memorable characters in this work, detailing their troubled time in adulthood and their first encounters throughout adolescence. This blending of narrative serves to create some very strong ties with the people you are reading about. Past events are first spoken of briefly in conversation and then relived firsthand. The writing of childhood is particularly well done and captures that wondrous if fleeting moment of carefree living we as adults have all once known and since lost. It also does well to display the change in its central character Ig Parish, who from the start of this work you may think is a down-and-out nobody just ambling through life, yet as you read deeper into this book you see an individual touched by love at a very young age and destroyed by its sudden departure in later adulthood. The connection between Ig Parish and his girlfriend Merrin was a particular highlight for me when reading this book and was both sad and very heartwarming. The concept of the horns appearing mysteriously does very well to open this piece, and the opening encounters are in some ways humorous when considering the moral standing of the people saying them. But I did feel the concept perhaps went a little too far in certain areas. Towards the end there is a lot more going on than just two pointy ends sticking out from the main character's head. There also felt to me to be a very sudden change in pace at the start of chapters. You can begin a chapter very much in the middle of the action and sometimes without much of a setup. It certainly isn't a novel-splitting critique, but it caught my attention several times. The usual build-up that I'm used to and expecting in such tense and dramatic scenes was somewhat lacking in places. Despite being a very well written and readable piece, I did also find this work to be a little predictable. Certain sections you just know what is going to happen, while in others you are somewhat shocked. I'll admit in a good way. The first half of this book lines up for something special, but I feel the last 100 or so pages didn't match the quality of those preceding, and despite having a satisfying conclusion, I was somewhat underwhelmed. However, I really feel this is only because this work produced a great satisfaction to me when reading it. It just got a little lost at the end. I haven't mentioned this in the review as I didn't want to undermine this author, and I'm sure he's very tired of hearing about it. Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King, and in that regard he has some very big boots to fill. Despite my issues with this book, I will happily admit now that Joe Hill can stand proudly on his own 2 feet and needn't linger in the limelight of his father. I greatly enjoyed many sections of this book and was pleasantly surprised to discover, much like his father, how talented Joe Hill is as a writer. The character development in this work is certainly something of note, particularly throughout the first half. The concept of people telling you their darkest sins is something you're scared to read about but must press on with regardless. It's a guilty pleasure in of itself. This, entangled with a tragic and convincing love story, makes this book one I would not hesitate to recommend. So with all things considered, I would rate Horns an 80 out of 100. My friends, thank you very much for watching this book review. Should you wish to purchase this book and find out more information about it, you can check out my video description below where you'll have a link with further information. Next week's book, or in 2 weeks, is a book I've recently bought from an author I've not read before. This is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. Highly acclaimed author. Has a popular work before this book, which I've not read. I've only just started this one, 10 pages in. Good so far. Again, if you'd like to join me and read this one and come back here for the review, if you'd like to know where to get this book, please see the description below. All that's left for me to say, my friends, is happy reading. I hope you're living the best life out there, and I will see you here again soon for more book reviews and discussion. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.